Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good afternoon and welcome to the First Alert Desk. I am meteorologist Diane Phillips. On this Thursday afternoon, we are going to be talking about our local forecast. But if you're joining us and you saw some of our push alerts, we are also going to be talking about the hurricane threat that we have out into the Atlantic, some interesting and some kind of rare phenomenon going on. So we're going to make sure that you kind of stay updated on that, as this is not necessarily a normal or common situation that we're seeing out over the Atlantic. But we're also going to be talking about our 12-hour day today. Yes, I know there's 24 hours in a day, but we have a 12-hour day today. So we'll go in depth on that. And then also, since it is Thursday and maybe you are going to be headed out of town looking for some fall color already, we will have an update on what we're seeing across the state. So we have quite a bit to talk about this afternoon. So as we get started, I do want to start with our hurricane update. So here is currently the setup that we have from the National Hurricane Center, and you are going to see that we have Gabrielle, so that is out kind of centrally located into the Atlantic Ocean. We have Tropical Storm Umberto, so that is currently going, and then we have our Invest system, so that is going to be starting to develop. We are anticipating that does eventually turn into a tropical storm and even potentially a hurricane. So we have three systems that are coming through right now. All of them are fairly active, and we are going to continue to kind of see how all of these are going to play out. So I am going to switch over here to what we are watching. So this is initially the information that we have for Tropical Storm Umberto. So that is going to be still just tropical storm. We don't really have the winds yet to make it a hurricane. But what the interesting part is with this is that we have these two systems. So they are right by each other. So actually, I don't want to show those plots just yet, but you are going to see both of those. So we have our Invest system or cyclone that's currently around the Dominican Republic, and then just east of there, that's where we have Tropical Storm Umberto. So that is going to be kind of our two systems. Now, it isn't necessarily common for us to see two cyclones that close in the Atlantic. So that's kind of why we are talking about that dual hurricane threat, and that is going to be something that we don't necessarily see. We can kind of have hurricanes in some seasons that one comes through, one's right on its heels, and then they're kind of going kind of the same path or very similar at least. But here we are finding that both are trying to get developed at the same time, and they are going to try to head in the same directions. So we are going to start out with one storm that's a little bit stronger. So that's where we have the tropical storm. So we are anticipating that is soon going to be making it to major hurricane status, and that would happen over the weekend. So the kind of timing on that would be closer towards Sunday. That system is also further east. So we are watching for potential landfall, but it's really going to be the Invest system that we're watching for landfall into the United States. Now we do have Umberto that's moving at about 8 miles per hour. Of course, these are pretty slow. The pressure hasn't really dropped all that much. We are anticipating seeing those pressure drops here in a little while yet. I'm actually going to bring up the cone so you can see. So this is going to be the forecast cone for the tropical storm. So where we have kind of that M coming through, that means that we're talking major hurricane, potentially category 3 then, or higher to be of major hurricane status. So again, we're watching that over the weekend, and right now that cone doesn't really take it into the United States. Of course, it's going to be close. We could see some disturbances as far as the general flow overhead, but even when we talk about that, we're going to have to see how these two systems play along. So we are going to also find that our Invest system, so it's not even reaching winds that are of tropical storm level yet, but these two are going to be kind of going hand in hand with one another. So as I load up this graphic, what we're watching is kind of the Fujiwara effect. So what that is where we have these two systems. They both are circulating in the same direction, so both are going counterclockwise, and we're finding that they both are just going to kind of battle out. So typically in a situation like this, the stronger one wins out, and then it sucks that second storm into it. Now, it doesn't always completely suck in and then form a stronger storm. That can happen. There's quite a few outcomes that can happen, but what we will be watching for is which one seems to be a little bit stronger. Now, Umberto did develop a little bit quicker, so that may signal that is a little bit stronger. Of course, so that can change fairly quickly. Right now, both are pretty equally measured, so we are going to continue to see if the strength deepens in any of the storms compared to the other. Now we can have, if they kind of remain very similar, we can have both of them that are trying to come together, and then they are going to try to continue to kind of circulate one another. So we could have both of these stay as two separate storms. We could have them come together. We may have them come together as one. We may have them kind of come together, but not make that full transition. So there's a lot of outcomes that we're watching here. Right now, though, when we look at some of the paths that are coming our way, I'm going to bring the spaghetti plots in. You are going to see that they are trying to continue out and stay their own separate storms. So I'm going to actually hop in here and kind of drive a little bit so you can see what we're working with. So in these spaghetti plots, actually, we'll start with the tropical storm first. So that plot you can see here is not trying to necessarily bring it into the United States. Something to keep in mind, though, where we do kind of have that little bit of a hook to where it does try to come into the U.S. I'll kind of back it up. You can see it's heading west, and then suddenly it starts to take that northerly turn. Well, that would be signaling that potentially the Invest cyclone is going to start to be a little bit of a driver. It's going to have a hard time when you have a big storm. It's going to be having a hard time to kind of get into that direction with both of them circulating. It's almost kind of a way that you can think of maybe two ice skaters coming together and then spinning around with one another. That's kind of what we have here with these two cyclones. So we are going to be watching that path more than likely with the Invest cyclone. That's why we will not be seeing that make landfall into the United States. Plus, if we see the Invest system go into the tropical storm, that would then allow for us to be seeing potentially that system also stay off land. But when I turn on the spaghetti plot for the Invest cyclone, let's run it back here. So that continues to kind of head a little bit closer towards Florida, still staying out into the Atlantic. So probably still some outer bands would be making impacts with the United States, but then that does continue to head up. But you will see some continue that more northerly pull, bringing it in towards the Carolinas. And that's going to be something that we watch as the system comes up. Now, if these two come together, that may change the path on it making landfall closer towards the Carolinas. But we may find that if they stay separate, one goes inland, one stays out. So there's still a lot that can happen. So when we look at these spaghetti plots, though we are seeing that it is headed towards the United States, there is a little bit of variation as we get closer to about 5 days out from now. So I'm going to turn both of these on. So it does kind of look like a lot here. But as we kind of zoom in, the reason that these are called spaghetti plots is it kind of looks like spaghetti. We have a plate of the noodles out there. It's just a little bit messy on here, but that's why we call them spaghetti plots, is it's just all these lines, all these noodles that are coming together with different models and their outputs on what they expect the storm to do. So at least we have some pretty good consistency coming out. It's still about 5 days from now. That's when it starts to get a little bit erroneous in the data. I have also found that a lot of our models for next week are really struggling with the big picture, and I get why, because when you have a hurricane itself, that can throw off the data. It can throw off the bigger flow. Though our flow is going east and west, now we have something that's trying to come in from the south. So that can be troublesome, especially for our forecast, making it very difficult to see how this is going to be pulled into the main flow, and then how is it going to affect our local forecast. So we are going to find that next week. Keep an eye to the details, because we may need to make some sudden changes just because of the hurricane. So it's not necessarily that we're uncertain, it's just that we have to roll with however these hurricanes decide. And with the two of them dancing out into the Atlantic, it's a tricky forecast getting into that time period. So we are going to be watching both of these go. We'll be tracking again the strength of the cells and how well they go together, or if they stay separate. So there is a lot to watch between these two. Now I am going to turn on also our tropical track. So this is going to get a little bit busy here as these turn on to load up some of the data. So I want to bring in and just some of this. And like I said, it does get a little bit busy when we look at this. So I'm going to try to zoom in here and kind of break it all down for you. We're going to start with Umberto because that is still around. So we are going to be seeing, though, that it's a tropical storm. We anticipate it to here pretty quickly get close to hurricane status here in the next 24 to 48 hours. So again, major hurricane status happens at Cat 3. So that's what it looks to be out into the Atlantic, and then weakening as it gets a little bit closer towards the United States. So that would be a little bit closer towards Tuesday of next week. So right now it doesn't look to be impacting the United States all that much. Still, we could have some outer bands, and yet then we have the Invest cyclone. So that is what we're also going to be watching. It doesn't really have a cone yet, just because we haven't reached that tropical storm level, but With this invest, it is moving at about 16 miles per hour, so it is potentially just a little bit weaker. When we look at pressure, the lower the number. So the pressure is at about 1011 for the invest, and then for the tropical storm, about 1004. The smaller that number gets, the stronger the storm. So the tropical storm is a little bit stronger, so we will be seeing if this invest cell potentially can get close enough to get sucked into the tropical storm, or if they're going to stay separate. But we are going to be watching the invest potentially to head closer towards the United States. Right now, though, we are seeing it impacting the Dominican Republic. So those are the two systems. Another one, though, that is also showing up. So we had Gabrielle that's out into the Atlantic. This one's pretty interesting when we look at the cone. It is still a hurricane. It is a Category 1. It's moving at around 31 miles per hour, and it has winds at about 75 miles per hour. So fairly manageable for a hurricane, but something that I don't know if I've necessarily seen this is that the remnants are going to be headed closer towards Spain. So it's kind of interesting to see how this system is going to try to continue to hold on here. I do want to bring our map back up. So let me pull that up so you can actually see where it is located here. So this is Gabrielle. So you can see kind of out on its own, out into the Atlantic. So considering that it's going to continue to go into the westerlies, meaning that it is going to go from west to east, that's why we see that path. So as it makes some impacts closer towards Europe, we are going to have the potential for that to be potentially a tropical depression by then, or even a post-tropical low. So the impacts for that, hopefully on the lighter side for folks on that side of the world, but we are still going to be seeing a hurricane kind of affect not the United States, but a couple other countries there. So we will be watching this, but overall impacts to the United States are no more a threat for us. So we have those three tropical systems that we're watching here. You can kind of see that some of them are a little bit more organized compared to others, so there is still quite a bit to watch. Now, that's a lot of our hurricane discussion, but we do still have more. We got to talk about that 12-hour day. We're also going to be looking at your forecast and also that fall color report. So we are going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about those remaining topics. Welcome back. We are going to continue to keep an eye to the tropics. Deborah also asked in our Facebook comments if this means that we could see a little bit more rainfall here in mid-Michigan. And the potential is on the table for us. We could. It really depends on that invest system to see if that does make landfall in the United States. We may see that go a little bit further north to where we could have some of the remnants left over. And we could use some water. Of course, our drought monitor, that came out today. I actually have a push alert scheduled to go out on the app with the latest information there. So have that First Alert weather app running on your phone. I'll actually give you here the QR code so you can get that downloaded on your devices. If you don't have it, make sure you get that. It is free to download from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. And if you have it, just keep it updated. Of course, we'll push those updates out so that you have the latest tools at your fingertips. So, of course, if we do see any of those remnants coming in to bring us some rainfall chances, we'll be watching it. But when we get to the 7-day forecast, you'll see that we really don't have much rain headed our way. Now, we are going to be taking a look at our 12-hour day. So, yes, there are 24 hours in a day today. And we are going to find, though, that it's 12 hours a day because of daylight. So we are losing quite a bit of daylight at this point into the season. So our sunrise, this is a look at our sunrise and sunset times across some of our mid-Michigan communities. So we're going to start in Houghton Lake because the sun came up at 7:30 this morning and it is going to set at 7:30 p.m. this evening. So right there, we have a 12-hour day as far as that daylight is concerned. So actually, when we get down to not only the second, but the millisecond, our day length is going to be 12 hours, 0 minutes, and 4 milliseconds. So we're going to be very close in Houghton Lake to having that 12-hour day. Now in Saginaw, the sun came up this morning at 7:26, and we're going to be seeing that set at 7:27. So that means that our 12-hour day is going to have about 13 extra milliseconds. So, 12 hours, 0 minutes, and 13 seconds. So sorry about that. I was off on my conversion there. But here in Flint, we are going to find that that sun came up at around 7:23 a.m. And then, I have a little bit of a typo there. So just looking at some of my data, we are going to find, though, that the difference here in Flint is going to be about 4 seconds from Saginaw. So about 12 hours, 0 minutes, and 17 seconds will be the length of the day. Now, the reason that we are going to find that we don't have this tomorrow, a 12-hour day, is because we are losing nearly 3 minutes of daylight today. So in Houghton Lake, we're losing about 3 minutes and 2 seconds of daylight. So tomorrow we are going to find, of course, a bigger difference because we're going to see our day is about 11 hours and 57 minutes. And then in Flint, we're losing 2 minutes and 54 seconds. And in Saginaw, 2 minutes and 56 seconds. The one thing to note, though, is as we're losing daylight, we don't always lose the same amount day after day. But right now where we are, we're losing a lot of daylight. So this is actually our maximum loss of daylight day to day, because typically here around mid-Michigan, we lose up, our max is about 3 minutes. So we're kind of reaching that. So we're going to continue here for the next couple of weeks to be losing nearly 3 minutes of daylight each day. And then that is going to start to get smaller. So as we get closer to December, when we are going to be looking at that switch over, going back to gaining that daylight, we're only going to be by then losing potentially only seconds of daylight each day compared to 3 minutes. So that's why you're finding that it's a big difference when our sun is setting closer or even earlier than 7:30 tonight. So we are going to continue to see those days get shorter. Also, the time change, just a reminder, is going to be the weekend of Halloween. So if you have maybe some Halloween plans, you'll have a little extra time as that gets closer. Now, the other thing that we were going to talk about is going to be the fall foliage. So as we bring up that report here, you are going to see that once the data loads, that we have actually quite a bit of low color showing up. So we do have that yellow here into mid-Michigan for some of us. So portions of the thumb coming through the Tri-Cities and our northern counties. So mainly north of I-69 is where we see that lower color. Now, I have been watching also into the UP to see how conditions look there. We do have some of that moderate with a little bit of high color coming in. I was actually checking a camera around the Ironwood area, and it didn't look like full color just yet. So even though we are pulling our data from Explore Fall, we want to thank them for sharing that data with all of us. You may find, though, that there are going to be some spots that have better color than others. So this is kind of a general idea. It's really hard considering we can have that mixed terrain throughout the northern portions of Michigan. So that can allow for some variation between the temperatures, which then affect our color. Another thing to keep in mind with fall color is that a lot of this is also being set on a little bit early because of the dry and drought conditions. Our trees are stressed, they're looking for water, so we are finding that they're just starting to break down that sugars that we have in our leaves to allow for the colors to come through early, and then it's a little bit easier on the trees. So they're kind of doing what they need to do to survive the drier weather. But we are going to find, even when I was driving around last weekend, that there is quite a bit of low color throughout the state, through West Michigan, Northern Michigan. So if you do see some decent color, of course, you can share that on the First Alert Weather app. We love seeing those fall foliage photos being sent into our newsroom. You can also do that at WNEM.com if you want to submit a photo. So feel free to send those in. We may even be able to show them off here on the First Alert desk. So just keep in mind, though, that you may, if you are traveling this weekend looking for some fall color, that you are going to find that it does vary throughout the state. So though it's kind of a broad brush here on the map, you may find some spots that are a little more ahead of schedule compared to others. But here, considering that we're talking this last week of September and we have low color through even half of the lower peninsula, this is definitely early, and the drought conditions are kind of leading into that. But typically, just because of our day length and those days getting shorter, we typically see this in October. Another thing to keep in mind is with it being so dry, the fall color may not be as vivid this year. It might kind of be to where it sets on, we have some color for maybe 3 to 5 days, and then the leaves start to drop. So it may not be as bright, and it may also not be as long. So if you are looking for some fall color, take advantage of it. When we have it, it may not be the best year for it because it just has been so dry lately. And even once we get into October, it's kind of the job is done at that point. Whatever happens, happens to where our forecast, even if we could get some rain from some of those tropical tropical systems that may just not be enough for the leaves to kind of catch up in time to hold on or maybe be a little bit brighter. So there's still a lot to watch here when we look at that fall foliage forecast, but we are still going to continue to look at our next 7 days and what we have ahead. We are going to take just another real quick break, and we will be talking about your 7-day forecast coming up. Welcome back. We are going to continue to talk about what we can expect here in mid-Michigan. Whoops, looks like our forecast for after school is going to be into the lower 70s for us today. So we are finding that we're gaining a little more heat compared to yesterday, but still kind of finding that it's overall seasonal, considering our normal high at this point in the season does sit at 70 degrees. Now we will see that we have northwest winds, and that's kind of pushing some of that lingering rain out of the area. I've been seeing some showers. We had some around lunchtime that were in Birch Run, and so our camera was picking up on that rainfall. But actually, I'll pull up that camera now. Definitely a different story here where we have some sunshine coming through. I actually went outside for just a little bit to check out on that sun, and it was beautiful. But that isn't going to necessarily hold for the entire day. As you can see, we have those clouds for folks who are driving north. Everybody's got the chance of seeing a little bit of cloud cover. You'll see that on our pinpoint Doppler, that it's just kind of speckled clouds and speckled rain here. So we do have the chance for seeing yet an isolated thunderstorm that's kind of trying to get going here in the mix. I'm actually going to zoom in where we have some of our better reflectivities. This is coming in for our northern counties. So across Ogama and Iosco counties, we can see some steady rain, no lightning being picked up here, but it's kind of a popcorn look. So it is going to be pretty short-lived as these continue headed off towards the northeast. So down towards the southeast, our northwest wind is really pushing them through. Now we do have the scattered rain, and I know that there's a lot of green that's showing up here. I have our radar set to be a little bit more sensitive so that we can really pick up on some of this fine rain chances. So we do, it looks like, have some showers on the western side of Saginaw, and then we also have some showers that are coming in just west of Midland, even around Merrill, Lakefield area, closer towards St. Charles, almost northwest of St. Charles. You can see CSL. And then just west of M52 across into northern Shiawassee County, and here in Genesee County, just some lighter rain also being picked up here on the north side of 475. So it's not really great coverage of rain, but it is just these isolated showers that we were first alerting you to. So that's what we are watching here for the rest of the afternoon. If you do have some plans, I know we have JV football tonight. It's Thursday night. We are going to see that you'll want to check radar. So use that First Alert Weather app. We got the QR code right here for you, so you can have a look at radar if you need to pack the rain gear. I'd at least throw it in the car if you're headed to the game tonight. As we look at the latest run in the hour by hour, you are going to see that the rain chances will still carry on until 6, 7 o'clock. So dinner on the patio, very much questionable depending where you're at. And we are going to see that the cloud cover continues to break apart. So where we have rain, we'll have some clouds. Where we don't, we try to bring some of that sun in. And we'll continue to see our sun to be scattered for us, and then that'll set around 7:30. Going through the overnight, our skies clear out and our winds will be fairly light, so that does set us up for the chance for seeing a little bit of fog tomorrow morning. Give yourself a few extra minutes. I know the fog this morning was kind of building level. We may be seeing it closer towards like headlight level tomorrow morning, so that could slow a couple of you down. We'll talk about visibilities here shortly, but a little bit of a change that we've seen in the First Alert forecast for Friday. You are going to find that we do have that rainfall. We were talking about it in our northern counties. This sets up along a cold front that's going to start to sag further south tomorrow. We were watching this to be kind of across our northern counties. The one thing is that it's now coming in a little bit further south. It's been a change that we picked up here in the morning data. So we will be watching this closer to US 10, the Tri-Cities, and then coming just into the northern portions of the thumb. So that means for high school football games at 7 o'clock, we do have some scattered shower chances for some of our matchups in mid-Michigan. So keep in mind that you may need to pack the rain gear even for the Friday night games. It was looking dry, but with this change coming in a little bit further south, we may find some of our games do need to have the rain gear ready to go. Now, we will see that this system kind of tries to get itself pushed back out, even going into Saturday morning. A little bit of cloud cover is trying to hold on and kind of linger through, but I'm trying to bring that sunshine in for the afternoon so we can hopefully have that. I know we have CMU. They are going to be home on Saturday, so we want to have a nice game for that matchup. Talking about visibilities, it looks like it's already jumped ahead in the data. So I'm going to kind of bring this back here. You can see that visibilities do drop down to just a couple of miles, maybe not the most dense fog that we've seen already, this kind of late summer, early fall era, but we are going to see that visibilities do start to improve as we get into the mid-morning. So mainly around the bus stop, the morning commute, that's when we're going to be seeing those clouds in our fog lights. So make sure you are prepared to have potentially a little bit of a slower drive in. Again, it may not be the thickest of fog that we've seen this season, but it is still going to be hanging around. Now I am going to jump ahead and take a look at some of our forecasts for Friday Night Lights. Our game of the week matchup is going to be Clio taking on Goodrich. Pretty good matchup here. Both teams are 4-0. We will, for this game, because it's a little bit further south, we're going to be in Genesee County here for this one. We are anticipating a dry forecast for this game. Now, this is not across the board for all of our matchups that our TV5 sports team is going to be going to. We do have temperatures at 70 degrees for kickoff as we see a little bit of a warmer forecast tomorrow, but then we do fall into the 60s. So this is kind of a middle of the road forecast compared to what we have seen for some of our previous Friday Night Lights. Now, another matchup that we have is Garber. They're taking on Swan Valley. This is one of our matchups. It's a little bit closer towards the Tri-Cities, so we are looking at some spotty showers to be possible. Does it rain during the whole game? I'm not convinced that it could, but it is possible that we at least see some rain throughout the game. So we are going to be keeping some of those spotty showers in, especially around kickoff. Temperatures here holding on to the lower 70s a little bit better, but eventually we will hit the 60s as we go into the evening. Now, another game that we have is Bay City Central. They're going to be headed to Mount Pleasant. Now, of course, this game a little bit closer towards 127 in the western portions of mid-Michigan. So we are right now keeping this forecast a little bit drier, being south of US 10 as well. We do have temperatures in the lower 70s for kickoff, 60s for the rest of the game. This is one that's kind of borderline, could change. So keep in mind that you'll want to keep an eye to these forecasts. I know we're going to be making some updates to them here this evening, and we'll do another round of updates tomorrow morning. And then we will post all of our matchups. I believe we have 10 or 11 matchups here into the system. So that's our TV5 crews are going to be going to a lot of games. So we will have all of these forecasts posted to WNEM.com in the morning. You'll also be able to find them. We'll be pushing them out to the First Alert weather app more like late morning. So kind of keep an eye if you're going to some of these games if we need to make some changes. We'll also preview the CMU game because they are home again this weekend, planning on temperatures to be into the lower 80s during the game. This will be a warm one, even warmer than last week. We are going to see that we have some sun. I'm hoping that the cloud cover from the morning gets out of town by the time that game kicks off. So we may need to adjust the cloud cover and the temperature as that gets a little bit closer. But for now, we are still planning on a mainly a dry game, but also a warm one with southwest winds that are going to be bringing in some warmer weather. A quick look at our 7-day forecast. It does have the rainfall chances for us as we go throughout the rest of today. More kind of isolated here and there, very much spotty. And then we'll still see those spotty chances as we go into our Friday. So keep an eye to that cold front. Use your First Alert weather app. Check in with us. Sadly, we will not be able to stream tomorrow due to staffing, but we are still going to make sure that you're covered on the First Alert weather app. We will be looking at that sunshine, though, coming in for the weekend, and that will carry on into next week. So once we kind of get through this rainy pattern, we do continue to see improvements to bring our sunglasses back out. And not only is it going to be sunny, but it's also going to be warm. You might have to turn that air conditioning back on if you already turned it off. We are going to be finding 77 for Friday, 80s for the weekend, and then back into the 70s by Monday and Tuesday. But as we go into October, we are seeing a little bit of a drop in temperatures for the beginning of the month. So that's why we do have 60s by day 7. So be prepared. There may be some changes, but it looks like we will get a little bit of a taste of fall as we head into the month of October. But there's still some variations for the early half, or excuse me, just the first half of October. So a lot to keep an eye on in that long-term forecast. But for now, we have a great weekend setting up. It's Thursday. Make some plans if you don't already have some. And if you're going to be traveling this weekend across mid-Michigan, make sure you take your First Alert weather app with you. Thank you so much, though, for joining me this afternoon. Again, a reminder that we will not be live streaming tomorrow at 2 p.m. just because we will not have the staffing ability to do so, but we are still going to be busy keeping an eye on the hurricane, also updating those Friday Night Lights. forecast graphics, and then also making sure that you're prepared for your weekend plans. So, of course, no matter where your events take you, you can always have the latest forecast at your fingertips with the First Alert weather app. So, also just a reminder, if you'd like to replay any of this or you want to send this on to a friend, you can share the link on YouTube. Of course, we are having that replay capability there, but also on the WNEM Facebook page. So let your friends know that we hang out here at 2 o'clock. If they're busy at 2 o'clock, I get it, but make sure that they can catch us a little bit later on into the evening with that replay. Also, if you are not able to live stream, but you are hoping to maybe catch a newscast, you can catch us on Roku and Fire Stick channels, and then Android and Apple TV. So plenty of ways to connect with us. But thank you so much again for joining me this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you at TV5 News at 4 p.m. We'll see you there.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.